past, what keeps me going? What gets me to drive and lead a zealous life? The answer is simple. The answer is because I choose to. I choose to push beyond my boundaries that has helped me see sides of myself which I never knew existed. And I use my challenges, I use my limitations as challenges. You see, it's clearly a game. It's clearly a game of your mind over your body and the fire that lies within each and every one of us. So life is the toughest guy that you will face. And life, at different stages of your life, will place you in scenarios and situations. And it's how you take it that you either make it or you break it. Your entire life is a constant learning and a constant test, both at the same time. 7 years ago, back in my college days, I met with a bike accident that changed my life. I suffered 18 fractures on my skull, 3 of my ribs were broken, 1 pierced my lung, I had multiple maxillary fractures all over my body, and my spinal cord was injured at my T5, T6 level. I spent 3 days in coma and 3 months in the hospital and rehabilitation. During this period, the doctors had done 2 major surgeries on my body, and after the surgery, they had informed my parents that your son has a 40% chance of survival. But I survived. I remember being shifted to the ward from the ICU, and the doctor walks in and he says 3 things to my parents. He says, number 1, your son is never going to see from the right eye again. Number 2, he's going to have a very weak memory. And number 3, he's never going to walk for the rest of his life again. Ladies and gentlemen, I've managed to prove those doctors wrong so far for the first 2 of them. I'm in the pursuit of my 3rd one. After being in the hospital for 3 months, I was brought back home to Kerala. And coming back home, everything changed, everything was different. I had a lot of people come and visit me. Same people I've met before, just with a different reaction on their face this time. They kept overloading me with sympathies and pity. They started placing limitations on my life, and they did not think I would lead a normal life again. At that point in my life, I was just home every single day, 24 hours. I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't studying, I wasn't working. I was lonely, I was sad, I was depressed. Life brought me down to my knees, and I was at the lowest point of my life. And at that time, it clicked me. At that time I realized, if something had to be done, I had to do it. I had to stop being dependent on my parents, my doctors, my teachers, my friends. I had to stop being dependent on everyone, and I had to take control of my life. At that phase, life pushed me to such an edge where I had to push myself in a way I've never done before to do some things that I've never thought of even doing before. And that's when the first challenge I thought, what were the limitations were placed? There was a very simple thing I wanted to do, was sleep in my room. The only problem was, my room was on the first floor and I was on the ground floor. And this was considered impossible by everyone. When I asked them to sleep in my room, they thought, Sujith, it's not possible. And that's what I did. I had to find a way to make the impossible possible. I wheeled myself to the end of the stair. I picked myself up from my wheelchair to the end of the stairs, and I lifted myself up 18 steps up physically, and I reached on top. And when I reached, I was exhausted, I was tired, I was sweating, I was panting. But you know what? It was worth it. It was worth it because I did something what everybody considered possible. Can we have the video, please?
Your time.
Thank you. After doing this, I got a sense of confidence. Then a couple of years later, when I got to come back to Dubai, I wasn't working, I wasn't studying. I wanted to do something other than keep warm my wheelchair. I used to be a boxer back in college. So when I told people I want to join a gym, this was considered impossible by everyone. They're like, Sujith, you might fall, you might break your bones again, or you never know what can happen, so it's safe for you to go to a gym. And even if you go to a gym, there's nothing much that you probably might be able to do. I still went, I was still adamant, I still wanted to get my fitness back. I wheeled myself to the gym and I started my workout. Fast forward, ladies and gentlemen, I've bench pressed more than 100 kilos. I've done rack pulls of more than 100 kilos, and today in Dubai, I'm an official fitness influencer for the Dubai Fitness Challenge. My life became an example. I wanted to show people, if I was able to do it in a wheelchair, nothing should be impossible for you. And that same thought, that same drive, made me do something phenomenal last year. And it had to be physical, because it had to be seen. Last year, I ended up pulling a car physically that weighed 1,500 kilos. And I pulled it for about 10 meters. Can you please have me?
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sujith good. Oh, he's not even struggling right now. He is on this. He is pulling that car like it's nothing. Only using the strength in his arms right now. NIS, make some noise. Oh my gosh, Sujith. You wanted to do 2 guys. I said 1. I reckon you could have done 2. Give him a big round of applause.
Now, despite life catching me completely off guard and the challenges that it brought along the way, even from the simplest things of reaching out to a glass of water that is kept away from me, the biggest and the most important lesson that came to surface is that nobody, nothing, not a single person can make you move your mindset other than yourself. I managed to do this when life was throwing fireballs at me and I faced it head on. And I will continue to do so with all my determination. But that brings me to ask you, then what stops you in life? When life throws things at you, you have 2 options. Either 1, to take it and move forward, or pull back and just stay. Going back in the day, there was one thing always in prospect that I looked for, and it wasn't strength, it wasn't size, but it was the drive for hunger. I was hungry. I was hungry to be the best. I was hungry to leave a mark. That same hunger is instilled in each and every one of us. And trust me, that is what gets us to do something. What gets us to drive towards our goals. What gets us to drive. So goals. We all have goals. Big goals, small goals. Some of us are fortunate enough to know what our goals are. But there's also a majority who are still in quest for it. So let me ask you, what makes you think at any point of your life that your goal is too hard to reach, or it's at a distance and it's not really possible? Many would give excuses such as no time, no money, no knowledge, no connections, whatever the reason may be. Now I ask you to pause. Glance at yourself, your personal goals, and ask yourself, the goals that you thought about, you written down at the beginning of this year, have you acted on them? If you've acted, how far have you come? Or are they just thoughts on a paper? Now we say decisions are what shapes our destiny, but what exactly is destiny? Your destiny is the outcome of the choices that you make throughout your lifetime. You have no control of your yesterday, but you definitely have a control of your tomorrow. You definitely have a control of your today. So when you want to make a choice, when you want to do something, there are 3 things I can share with you that you've got to ask yourself. Number 1, what do you want to focus on? Is this a priority? Is this something that you really want to do? Number 2, what does this mean? You've got to label it. What does it mean to you? How does it add value to you in your life? Is it worth something? And number 3, how far are you going to go for it? How far are you willing to go for it? Now when we say decisions are what shapes our destiny, then think about it, rewind. I want all of you to rewind 5 to 10 years back from now. The decisions that you took then is what has placed you here today. But what if you took a completely different decision? Let it be career, let it be relationships, let it be anything. If you made a different decision, wouldn't that lead to a different impact, a different outcome, a different life altogether? That brings us to the question, how do we do something that we have never done before? Now in life, the biggest competition you can have is with yourself. Self-competition is the mightiest of them all, and there is nobody better to contend other than yourself. This means nothing other than beating your own very personal best. It's for your today to be better than your yesterday. As simple as that. And during this journey, you will find limitations, obstacles, boundaries, negativity, people hating on you, people want to bring you down. You'll find all that. And you'll reach a point in your life where you just don't want to push further. Where you're done giving up on your dreams, on your goals, because it's so hard. And if you find yourself at that position at any point of your life, be happy. Because that's exactly where you have to push yourself. That's exactly where you want to beat your own personal best. That's exactly where your growth lies. Literally right beyond that line. And let me tell you, the smallest of habits makes up the biggest of change. The simplest things of how you start your morning. What the first thing you do in your morning? The first thoughts that run your mind. What do you really focus on? Who do you share your energy with? Who do you allow access in your life? Yes, all these make a big difference, and all this is in your control. And it's for you to make that choice. It's for you to decide. The universe out there is an ocean of limitless potential. Look for yours. Let the fire burn. The thought of that idea you have in your mind right now, ladies and gentlemen, is so powerful enough to change the world around you. But have you acted on it? Let the fire burn for your glory and blind all the hindrances that come your way. Let it spark, because your idea is unique and it is powerful, and believe that. Ignite the fire, ignite the spark, let it burn, and you know you have gained it when you know that you are nothing but a touch of utter fearlessness. Thank you.